Talks with T and Shez.
Hello.
Hey! Hello. Oh my
That's
gosh.
the music.
I know, it's nice, isn't it? We're going to have to get some new pictures and all that. I don't know how that's going to happen, but does it make any difference? No, it's pretty good. Hey guys, we want to say hi. Welcome to Limitless Talks with Meaty and
Meet Shez.
yeah, guys. So we are back this week, and literally we have some stuff for you.
Yes. So basically, guys, this week is Mental Health Awareness Week. And actually, across in different countries, it's Mental Health Month. But we, the ladies of Limitless Talks, just kind of wanted to encourage you to do a mental well-being check-in. So it was about you guys taking the time out to check in with yourselves, find out where you guys are at, because our mental well-being is important for us to be able to do what we do. We always encourage you to be limitless, but then how can you be limitless if your capacity to do anything is limited because the headspace is so full? So we believe that having a check-in just allows us to assess and to readjust and just realign yourself. We believe this is important with our mind, body and soul theme. So it's important that we do it and have that full kind of checking and analyzing. What go on?
Listen, guys, you got to understand, we all have issues sometimes with different things that we're doing. And we might not even attribute it to mental health, but it may well have something to do with our mental health as well. And so don't be thinking, oh, I don't have any mental health issues. We may not have them that we show out, but guys, everybody struggles with something at some point in their life.
It may not be diagnosed, but mental well-being is a spectrum, just like anything else. And it's amazing how quickly you can be on the decline and not realize because you haven't really homed in on certain behaviors that are actually starting to become a habit and starting to be a bit prolonged. So that's the reason why we're saying let's do a check-in. So we have 7 questions that you should ask yourself, and we're just going to literally spend the next hour maximum or slightly less just checking it, going through the 7 questions that we should ask ourselves in order to kind of literally create some sort of balance and get an understanding of what's happening in our minds. So we're going to go straight into it. So the question number 1, and that is going to be, how is your life balance? So this is kind of looked at in 4 main life areas, and it's going to be our physical health, our achievements, and that's including like our works, things that we do at work, whether it's at school, money. Now the next one after that is relationships,
family.
And relationships means with family, it could be friends, acquaintances, with our community, and the one after that is meaningful future. So that's like our values and our goals. So I'm just briefly going through that very quickly, but these are areas that we have to check in. So our physical health, so we're kind of seeing how are we able to do things physically, what are we eating, all those kind of things. Are we able to just get up? Are we exhausted? Are we able to cope with day-to-day situations physically? Achievements, are we feeling fulfilled in our achievements? What do you think today?
Do you know what? Do you know that's a key subject? Do you know that? Do you know that people think about their achievements more so and what they feel that they need to do for society to embrace them than not than any other area? There are other areas, but a lot of people think about achievements. Oh, I need to achieve this. You've got students in university. Oh, I need to get this. I need to get this qualification. I need to get that. And these all attribute to what sort of balanced life you're having, whether you're paying more attention to something that actually you can take your pace and do, not worry about so much. And that is all part and parcel of the parcel of mental health struggles that we have, thinking that we have to achieve, you know. One of the other subjects was, like you just said, relationships. You know, when you're trying to achieve, are you still building your family relationships? Are you still around those people? Are you still working with your family, or are you neglecting your family, which is probably the place where you would go for solace and, you know, and stuff like that? Or are you you know, you've got to think about it. Is achievements taking away from who I am?
Yeah. And I suppose you can look at that in every way, because you can do that in your relationships as well. You can be so unbalanced with you're focusing so much on your relationships. Again, you've got to emphasize that it's not just your family relationships, it's also your wider community, your friendship groups and all those kind of things. You could be spending so much time in that where there's then no balance in even doing our achievements, which can create those imbalances. So it's literally, we need all of those things. Even when you're talking about achievements, sometimes not feeling fulfilled as well. So it's one thing with this ambition to achieve, but sometimes you've done everything and then you're kind of like, I've got nothing else to achieve. That can be highly stressful as well, is when you've peaked, when you've met all your things, and that can cause disparities in our mental well-being as well. So it's just being mindful and be able to check in with that. Our values and our goals, that can be challenged daily. Because a lot of times our own values and our own goals don't always fit in with the society's norms, especially as Christians as well. So when you're around people where your values and your goals are being challenged, that can cause an imbalance. It could be that your values and your norms are under challenged, and that could be the same. So it's just about making sure that you create a balance between all four of those areas, which will help to support mental well-being. But check in, see if there is any kind of disbalances there where you need to kind of work on, and go ahead and, you know, take that time to do that so you can start to put some balance in place.
And so we want to highlight just one little thing, Shez. I just want to highlight that we're just literally learning from some of this information that we've accumulated. So we're just encouraging you guys to look at your life and start reflecting. You know, even where you in that section, I remember listening to something and it said even your dietary habits.
We're getting to that in a minute too. So let's do the points one by one. Because it goes on. Was it in that section? Was that the in
that section? It's got it. It mentions it there
in terms of our physical health.
In terms of your physical health. So it mentions it there in terms of, like, you know, we've got to look at all those areas in our lives, and then obviously we're going to go into it a bit more, aren't we, Shez? So
the thing is, we can kind of see in terms of our physical health, if we are feeling a bit stressed in a certain area, you might find that you're stressed, and you might not realize you're stressed, but you're starting to crave more sugary foods, or you're starting to crave more salty foods and processed foods rather than healthy foods. So you're finding yourself physically challenged because you're busy, just doing stuff, but you're not able to just really take the time to ensure that you're giving your body what it needs to be healthy. So those kind of things in those areas, you have to keep a check-in on that, definitely. So number 2, T, what's number 2?
Is how is your mood what's your mood like in the past month? And you might think, oh gosh, why does it have to be a month? Why does it have to be a month? Well, it's not just a week that you can see the tendencies that you have, what's going through. So check out your anxiety levels, how you feel. Are you sad? Are you getting angry quickly? Are you sharp at times? Do you know what I mean? What are your mood swings like? Because sometimes, you know, my husband will say to me, you know, he said to me, "T, you're a bit sharp at the moment." I'm not thinking, no, I'm not. I'm just me. Like, you know, no, I'm not. And the reality is, it's actually really good that he's there, because he actually really knows me. and he knows the attention that's really calm and collective and whatever, and he knows when something's like off. And then the same thing with him, he may be under pressure and I may see that. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's in valued relationships that we can check those things. But if we are getting more sharp, getting more angry, getting more agitated, anxious about different things, then we have to really look at those things and say, well, what? Stop, check, pull back, pull the reins back and think, well, what am I doing? What do I need to change? Why am I responding in the way I'm responding? You know what I mean? And literally trying to gain a balance with regards to that. What are you saying,
Yeah.
Shez?
And I suppose with life, guys, we're going to have our good days, we're going to have our bad days. That's normal. But the reason why we do it over a month period is for you to really be able to home in on how you're feeling. So somebody else might see that displayed in your behavior, as T's just mentioned. She mentioned about her husband being able to see if she's snappy or all those kind of things. But a person could be feeling a certain way, but they're very good at putting on a persona so nobody else can see. So it's about being self-aware. If you're kind of mustering that smile, but each day you wake up, you're finding it's harder to put that mask on, that you know that your mood is being effective. So you're feeling sad more than happy. To think about all those feeling words, you can go online, look at those mood words. I know for me, I have a period tracker and there's lots of mood words on there. So you can kind of home in and start to take stock of, how you've been feeling within yourself. As a person, not somebody else on the outside analyzing, because sometimes with you, T, you've got your husband who knows you very well, so it's a different kind of thing, but not everybody has that person. So sometimes people, even if they don't know, you might be sharp, but that's just your personality. So that's not down to how you're feeling inside. That's not your mood. It's just that you're a straightforward talker. Not everyone can handle it, but that's just the way you talk, but you're actually happy. So it's about then homing in and understanding yourself and have a chart to say, actually, I've been particularly sad recently. What do I need to put in place and how what's going on? So just being able to analyze what your mood is really helpful for that kind of mental health check-in.
Definitely.
All right. So we're going to number 3.
Yes. Sleep and patterns. Shez. Have we got a degree in that? Or actually, we might even have masters in it, actually.
You know something. How have you been sleeping? It does have an effect on your mental health. I would say for me personally, this is my area of vulnerability hugely. If anything's going on with me, I might not necessarily feel it in the way, but it is going to affect me at night time. It might affect my sleep. It may not even be because of a mood. It may not be because of feeling stressed. Sometimes it's just I struggle with sleep. But there are other times when there are things which are on my mind which will keep me awake. Sometimes it's seasonal, sometimes it's ongoing. But I have to check in, especially being a bad sleeper. I have to check in. Okay, so why wasn't I able to sleep last night? Sometimes it might be because of different reasons. Then I have to home in. Is it because I'm feeling a bit of an unbalance in my mental well-being? You don't have to be diagnosed with anything to be off balance. So it's important that we do those check-ins with ourselves. T, I know with you as well, you're not the best sleeper. Am I right?
No, I haven't been one of the best sleepers. But I've realized that exactly what you're saying is that I now check what's on my mind, what am I thinking about, what am I if I may even be worried about something that I'm not actually showing, because I'm such a, I would say that I'm a person that literally takes note of stuff, but I need to get on with life. Does that make sense? So I think sometimes because we're people that just get on, and I need to carry on doing this, I need to carry on doing that, this is autopilot for me. When we're going through sleep problems, sometimes we do need to take stock, especially if you're a person that normally goes to bed quite early and gets up early, then that's fine. But if you're a person, I know that to be honest, I bring this in all the time, when I started the menopause, I couldn't sleep at all. When I say I was up till like 4 a.m. in the morning, I was thinking, what is going on? But I was exhausted.
Yeah.
When I say I was exhausted, I was actually exhausted, but I couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
And so one of the things you've got to understand, if you don't get your 7 to 9 hours per night, now some people say I can function on my optimum level with 6 hours. Some people say I can function with 5 hours. That's probably because we've trained our bodies to do that. That does not necessarily mean that realistically that's how you're supposed to. You do need to rest. God says in the scriptures, on this 7th day he rested from all of his works. Right? All of his works, that's what it says. And so he's God, he don't necessarily have to rest, you know what I mean? So but he's giving us the demonstration on the 7th day he rested. So and you will find that if you're not, if you've got a battery, let's look at it this way. You've got your mobile phone. We've all got mobile phones, and we forget to put it on charge the night before. We get up in the morning and we just pick it up as normal, and we go out and everything. By midday, for some people's phones, especially mine, because mine's not a brand new one, like the battery's going to run out. It's going to run out, and then I'm going to be stuck. So at some point, when you're thinking about I've had enough rest, or I haven't had enough rest, but I'm okay, I'm fine, at some point your body's going to plummet and go down. And these are all parts that affect your mental health and your physical health. And I know that years ago I was doing a little bit of a research, because all of a sudden my stomach was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it still is. Anyway, getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And and some people get slimmer, actually, just depending on who you are. But my stomach was just getting bigger, and I was like, why is this happening? I was having less sleep, and I was having less sleep because of the circumstances that were surrounding me and the things that I had to do. So rather than going to bed earlier as I wouldn't normally, sometimes, do you know what I mean, depending on my stress balance, and I realized that I was swelling out because your body has not had enough rest. It hasn't had rest. It's your body hasn't recharged. Do you know what I mean? You're still functioning on less capacity.
Yeah. I was going to say also with that, in terms of, you could be having lots of sleep, but you're still waking up tired. So it's the quality of sleep as well. And that's something also to keep an eye on. Are you coming into a season where you just literally just feel drained? You just feel tired all the time. You're not really doing anything, but you lack the drive and the energy to actually get up and to get on with things. That's something to make a note on as well. And as you said, T, you made a note of menopause and looking at that. So I did a hormone test the other day, guys, and I got my full bloods all done again. And I recently found out I'm vitamin E, vitamin D. I've got all these deficiencies anyway, so I have to start taking my vitamins properly, guys. My iron, because it was really, really low, to the point where they wanted to say, right, no, you can't have over the counter, you have to have the prescription, and it's at this strong dosage, which does have an effect on your ability to sleep. So it's all these things you have to kind of what's going in your body. We do a check-in because it helps to paint that picture.
And can I just tag on to that? A lot of people think you don't need multivitamins in this day and age. I'm just letting this very, very clear. Many years ago, I did a little course on health and nutrition, and I found out that and I think I've said this before, the food that we eat now does not have the vitamins that God created them to have, and I say that obviously because it doesn't have the vitamins it needs. So you need to add vitamins to your body. So you might say, I eat loads of salad and whatever. I can assure you that a tomato that you have in today's society does not contain, you would probably have to eat, I remember on the course, and this was a good few years ago, they said you would probably have to eat about 10 tomatoes in one day to get that vitamin that you would get from a tomato. And so you can imagine now, this was like, I think it was about 8 years ago. So you can imagine what it's like now. Do you know? So guys, check yourself, go to the doctors, check out your physical, because some of your characteristics are down to, it's like when you said about the iron, I was having iron deficiency, and I didn't know, my lips were really dry and stuff like that. These are all signs that you need to have more. You're probably eating ice. Ice is a sign of iron deficiency as well. So those of you who love eating and chewing on ice, there's a reason behind it.
Yes, guys, I was, and I go for my seasons of being an avid ice eater. But so when I go to those times when I'm literally craving it, I have to kind of think, okay, I'm not very good at taking note of the changes in my body. I'm not very good at it at all, because I will operate regardless, and I'll excuse it. Oh, it's because I'm doing this, it's because I'm doing that, and not acknowledge is that I have a vulnerability with anemia. So I have to be able to be on top of things. I now have a vulnerability with vitamin D, D3. So I have to make sure that I'm on top of things. So guys, figure out what your vulnerabilities are, check in with yourself so you can kind of make sure you are on top of things. Not just when you're feeling depleted, but put the work in for maintenance, for healthy maintenance. All right, so we've gone through sleep, and now we're on number 4. So taking care of your body. So very similar to what we've just said. We've mentioned a bit of it, and mentioned a bit of it already in the physical health, but taking care of your body.
So there's certain things that we might eat. Alarm bells. These are alarm bells. I noticed a couple of weeks ago that I was eating a lot of sugary, chocolatey things, and I was like throwing these chocolates down me like there was no tomorrow. And I didn't realize, that's when I realized that my iron levels were low, because I was trying to compensate. You may just be a chocolate eater anyway, I don't know, do you know what I mean? But for some people, that can be a sure sign when you're definitely wanting more sweet stuff, more savory stuff, salty stuff, whichever one it is. Those are definitely signs of your body deprived of something that it needs, and so you need to replenish your body rightly. Probably you might be doing so many different things that you're sitting down and you're saying, actually, I've got no time to cook, I haven't got no time to do any proper food. So you're living on junk food, do you know what I mean? Or, you know, let me just get this as quick. I think I said this to you guys a few months ago, when I was up and down with Jonathan, and my husband had injured his back. I found that every service station I went to, if I was getting petrol or anything, I was eating sweet stuff. I'd pick up a chocolate bar because I needed the energy. So guys, and that's just me personally.
That's feeding the stress, because you naturally, the body, when you stress it, you know, sends out some signal to your body that you need something to make you happy, and you need those what's called, what's the call? Those comfort foods. So you need this comfort foods. So we need the cakes, we need the biscuits, we need the chocolate, because it makes us feel happy again. And our body just sends out that signal saying, oh, get yourself some sweets, because that makes you happy. And it's that kind of thing, but it's not helping our physical health. When we're finding that, you know, if we're not feeling like we want to go out for a walk, we want to exercise, especially if you're somebody that used to do it before. I know I'm in that rut at the moment. Somebody used to do it before quite, you know, avidly. I mean, daily, I was doing daily exercises. Now I'm like, I still love exercise. I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I'm like, oh, gosh, I can't bother to exercise, you know, at all. But I'm doing less and less and less. And I have to literally tell myself, get up and go for a walk. When I do it, it feels so good. But that motivation to do it, and I'm recognizing I'm not being a good steward of my body. I've got how many years left in this? I want to make sure that I can live a good life in it. I don't need to be falling apart. And that goes quite swiftly, actually, into number 5, which is says, how have you been feeling physically? Because if we don't look after ourselves in terms of how we're taking care of our body, it's going to affect the way we feel within our body. Those aches and those pains start to kick in, and you're like, oh, wait a minute, my fingers are hurting me. And as we're getting older, I mean, Teach just mentioned menopause, we're all getting to that stage where we're getting older, and our body starts to change, and we're detecting things in a different way, and we've got to take note of it. Sometimes that is because of stress, your shoulders, your back. You know, we've got stress points in our bodies, within our feet. How are we feeling? What can we do to create a balance in that? Do we go and get a massage? You know, do we go and take ourselves to the spa and just let the jacuzzi beat us out? Get a steam, a sauna, our bodies. I'm going to include our hair, our nails. Is our hair starting to kind of fall out? Are we losing a lot of our nails breaking? Just keep a stock check, you know, what's going on in our bodies, you know, what's it feeling like?
I think it's really important that even some of the stuff that you've just said, you know, check yourself out, but also, yes, start investing in yourself. You know, one of the things you've got to understand in today's, right now, according to society, we're in kind of a recession. We're in a recession, aren't we? Financially, well, so they say.
Economically, there's a lot of stuff happening. I don't know if they're actually admitting recession, but we can only see around us what is happening, and many of us are financially challenged by the prices of, you know, things in the shops are going up, and our wages are not going up to match it. So the cost of living is extortionate. It's quite
So we're looking at the cost of living, and we're like, actually, because you're right, because I what was it I bought the other day? I went in the shop, and like 2 weeks ago, it was like, I think it was about $1.99, like for the whatever it was, and it was now $3.99, double the price. Like, you know, guys, and so then when you see those things, you're feeling that I need to pull back on certain things, and I literally. You might sit down and say, I cannot go and have a massage. I can't afford to go and do that. But I tell you guys, if you even just do it once in every 6 weeks, you'll notice there's a difference to your body. Going out for a walk, like Cheryl says, she felt really good when she finally went out for a walk. But getting there, it's getting up off that settee or getting up off that chair in the kitchen, or you know, wherever it is, you know, getting out of the car and thinking, you know, I'm just going to go for a walk rather than having to put on certain clothes. I've started to do that, by the way, just walk without, because I always think, you know, I'm like, I've got to have my joggers on and everything's got to be like, you know, in some kind of order. I'm just going to break the order because it's,
and that's you kind of like, if you set yourself little challenges, and just obviously homing in on how our body's feeling as well. But just doing little stuff like parking that little bit further away, so you can walk that little bit more. So rather than when you feel aches and pains, you automatically go to, right, I've got to stop now. Push through it. But if you are feeling aches and pains, guys, because of stress in the body, because they even say, even in your jaw, even in your teeth, a dentist can see if you're stressed because you're writing down tension in your sleep, or that tension on your teeth, and you will see that. So go to the dentist, go to the doctor, so they can actually pinpoint, okay, is this because of stress, or is there actually something else underlying happening within your body which is causing you to feel this way? So yeah, it is taking those sensible checks to be able to kind of give yourself the whole once over, mind, body, and soul.
Yeah. So number 6 is your support system. Who is your support system? Who do you have around you that stimulates you in a good way? Who do you have around you that drains you? Do you know what I mean? What sort of things do you surround yourself with? What sort of people do you surround yourself with? Is it just family oriented? Are your family draining? Are you the person that's always giving out of yourself, giving, or are you being given to? Do you know what I mean? Those little things are signs. Those little things can contribute to how you think, how you feel, how you manage yourself. And taking stock is really, really, really important. And I say that because if you take stock of what's going on around you, you will start to manage yourself better.
In terms of support systems, a lot of times us as women are in a position where we're supporting many other people within any kind of sense. We're nurturers. So it's within us. I'm saying this in a very general, there's going to be certain people which don't fit into the words that I'm saying right now. But as a whole, we tend to be supporting others. But even those who are supporting needs a support system too. So you've got to kind of check in and check, is there a balance? Are the people that you have around you in your circle, are they all people that need support? Are they all too vulnerable for you to kind of even share your stuff with them? If you are finding you're in a disbalanced relationship where you're the one who's always providing support, it is worth, because I'm not going to say anyone to pull away from those relationships, because some of us are just in that supporting role, and that's not a bad thing. It becomes toxic to you as a person if you then can't offload on somebody else, to the point where you end up putting up appearances and you then become overweighed down and burdened by your own circumstances and situations. So find a support network, find people you can talk to who are more on your level, so then you can have those balanced relationships. Because, you know, I'm a person who naturally, I find joy, and we're going into this one in a minute.
You're going to go
in others. However, I do recognize that I have to learn the language of asking for support when I need it, because some of you guys struggle to communicate when we need support. We struggle to communicate hurts. We struggle to communicate anything which kind of seems like we're vulnerable, and then we have to then come into a space where we're allowing ourselves just to be vulnerable to somebody else. And that's something that has to be learned and practiced as well. So even if you hear and you develop the tools, or you gain the tools of how to do it, then it's making sure that you check in with yourself and say, okay, when was the last time I was able to have an offload? When was the last time that I felt supported? And just recognizing as well, actually, am I okay right now? Because some people are really quite okay, or am I not? Don't wait. This is my encouragement. Don't wait until you need support to find support, because what you will tend to do is you'll take anything that's available, and it might not actually be the best options that's available to you in that moment. But if you start building healthy friendships with individuals that you can connect with at any time, when you then need support, they're already there for you. They've already been tried and tested. You already know their characters. You've prayed into the relationship, if it needs to be that deep. Depending on the capacity that you operate in, and I'm talking about on a spiritual level as well. Guys, some of you might be pastors' wives or in ministry and stuff like that, and you know sometimes you can't be friend with everybody, because the way you're dealt with is detrimental to your gift and to your calling. So because of that, you have to make sure that you're aligning yourself up with people who can feed into you, not just physically, but also spiritually as well. So yeah, it's also being mindful of those kind of things. What's your thoughts on that?
I totally agree with you. One of the things, what was it that you just said? Scream. One of the things you said, I hate when I say that and I can't find the word. Anyway, I relate to what you're saying in terms of how we respond, the people that are around us, the people that are there to encourage us. One of the things you said, was that you struggle to reach out in certain situations, and I hear you, because I think I totally identify with that. If I trust somebody, I find that I can talk to that person, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to pick the phone up and phone them when I'm going through. So I might, like it doesn't mean that I'm going to go, oh, hi Shez, guess what I'm going through? Like, I just somehow feel that I have to push through my circumstances, or I don't know if I actually feel that way. I think I just do it.
I
automatically just do it. I just think I don't want to be a burden to anybody yet and all. I don't understand to a degree. I don't necessarily understand why I do that.
Do you know something? I was watching in some of the studies I've done, even with psychology, sociology. There tends to be tendencies, and it can stem from childhood as well, in terms of the way that we have been taught to show love. And some of us, in a sense, will not necessarily recognize that we should be loved just because of who we are, because of our position, whether it's our position of daughter or position of wife or position of sister, that, you know, we should just be loved because of that. Some of us have learned that we are learned because of what we do. We are loved because of what we do. Because growing up, when you did something, the love was withdrawn. If you didn't do something, the love was withdrawn. So sometimes then we then end up into a space where we're always doing the most for everybody. It was hilarious, guys. If anybody watched Dear Future Wifey, it's this week's podcast. I was just watching it today. It was a very interesting conversation. I'll have to get the title for it. I can't think of it right now, but it was a very interesting conversation. It was this man who was talking about being in relationships and what he has learned about himself, that he used to always give the 90 and 90 because that's what he's always operated in, that way of, I have to do this, I need to do the most to show love. And because he didn't need a lot back, he would accept the 10%. But what was happening, he was finding in relationships that disparity of, you know, love. He was always giving. Everybody else was just taking. And the little scraps he was getting back was enough. But he didn't realize he was becoming depleted from giving so much. And I think that's what sometimes happens in terms of us in our support system role, whether we're supporting others, we tend to be giving so much. Whatever little scraps we get, we're like, oh yeah, well, I love that. And you feel good with just the little, but not recognizing that our mental well-being is also being affected by pouring out so much. And it might not hit you now, but you could come into a season, I'm not saying for certain, if you do not have the right systems in place to support you, you can come into a season where it can be quite lonely. You can feel quite isolated and you can feel unloved, because when you start to take stock of what's going on, realized I've got nothing left. I've got nothing left to give. So it's important that we do kind of create healthy support systems. If you are challenged to kind of understand what that means, guys, Google it, or any other search engines. Have a look. We don't have time to go into anything in depth in these sessions. All we're doing is giving food for thought so that you can go away and start thinking, wait a minute, that's touched something in me. I need to look into this. I need to look a bit deeper into this. So I encourage you to do that.
Yeah, I totally agree. Guys, it's so important that we do. I mean, I've just learned something listening to you, Shez. You know, just literally saying to me, "Oh, your childhood and all that." I thought I'd managed all the childhood things, but now I've got to double check now.
Something. There was a talk this week. It's it was the Breakfast Club, and it was Kurt Franklin and his wife that was on there. A recent one.
I was going to listen to that, you know. So
brilliant. And he talks about different stages of his life. Reveal traumas from childhood. So it's always going to show up in some way, shape, or form. So he's always on a roller coaster of dealing it, because something else that comes up in different levels as well. So guys, it's not because you're at a lower level or whatever. You could be even at a highest level, but it's still something that you have to deal with and heal from. And as Christians, what do we do? What we need to do, I should say, is that's where God is just trying to help us to mature and to grow. So we just got to be
realistic, you know. Be truthful with ourselves. Do you know what I mean? Evaluate yourself. You know, some people will sit down evaluating everybody else. No, you don't need to evaluate nobody. Evaluate yourself, because basically, take the speck out, take the mote out of your eye before you take the speck out of somebody else's. So when you evaluate yourself, and I always say this: self-evaluation is important, but sometimes we get so busy that we don't have the time to do it. So we do need to take time out for us to start listening to ourselves, hearing what we're doing, hearing for ourselves about ourselves, what we're doing, and then literally start making steps to make changes. Sometimes you got, I think I sort of, did I mention it earlier about toxic people? You've got people around you who are consistently going on about themselves and everything, or trying to guide you where you need to be, and trying to impose themselves upon you. When those thoughts, if you feel as if you're what's the word? You're being squashed by any relationship that's around you, you need to take stock, take time out and think, actually, is this necessary for me? And if it's not necessary for you, if you feel that you're being crushed, because when you get to a situation where, and it's just based on some of the stuff that you've just been saying, Shez, when you get to go through a situation where you feel as if you're being squashed, actually you're allowing that to happen. So sometimes we have to think about it. Why do I allow this to happen to me? And that's when we go back to our history and we go back to our childhood and we reflect and decide, do I need this in my life? But if you don't have time, if you're in such a toxic place, toxic relationships are those that every minute they're on the phone to you, every 10 seconds, all of a sudden.
Something not necessarily, because it all depends on what they're saying and doing and seasons. Gotta be careful, because
you can get them doing that, or you can get them just literally indirectly controlling you, and different things like that. You know what I mean?
There's so many different degrees, isn't there? And I think if you're a giver, you've got to recognize you're going to attract takers. You're going to attract them. So it is about having healthy boundaries. So you know what you're prepared to give, and set healthy boundaries in place, not just for yourself, but also for them. Because it can still be a good relationship. And I know there are some relationships that, even though we're going to take stock, is not as easy to get away from. Let's be real, but we still have to be, as individuals, we have to be in a place where we can take control, and that is by setting up healthy boundaries and putting things in place to ensure communicating clearly needs and wants, and making sure that we can align those appropriately. Because sometimes as a parent, it can come across as a toxic relationship with your children always want it. So, and it's not necessarily that it is, it's just the season that they're in. But guys, there are some really unhealthy support systems which is not supportive, where we need to kind of take stock of as well. And so it's literally just creating a balance.
So that's when you need to take stock, you know what I mean? Do I need this? Do I not need this? And it's not always going to be the case in every single circumstance in your life. However, you do need to, if you're feeling depleted, that's one of the keys. If you are feeling depleted in any relationship that you're in, right, it could be yourself.
It could be a work colleague.
And it could be a work colleague.
It could be work colleagues, whatever like that. It could be literally any relationship.
Do you know what I mean? It's I'm not just I'm dating this person.
We're talking everything.
Any area. Do you know what I mean? Somebody that you're just friends with and you just feel drained. You've got to really take stock of that.
So guys, also as well, I'm going to say just to kind of to end that, just a little keynote. Also recognize in yourself as well, because when I mentioned about the way that we've kind of been taught to love based on our experiences, sometimes the people in our lives, the reason why they will behave a certain way is because their upbringing as well. And I suppose when we start to kind of analyze and what's going on, we need support in that. So counseling, we always say on here, it's important that we're able, if we are struggling ourselves, to see those blind spots, that we can go and get the support to get it. So reach out. There's a group called Relate, which, you can kind of contact them. There's other kind of different ones out there, platforms. So just go ahead, go and look into it, so you can start to say, okay, there's some patterns of behavior here with me. I seem to be homing in on certain relationships, which is causing a problem. I now need to start taking stock. I need some help, and get the help you need. And you can also, for those of you who need mentoring, find a mentor, find a coach,
I'm a coach.
And a life coach.
A life coach. I'm a life coach. And I'm not being funny. I'm not being funny. There's a lot of success that comes out of me. So I'm not trying to just big myself up, but I'm out as well if it's true, innit? Because the people are coming back and telling me that, you know, it's been successful for them.
Yeah.
And Cheryl does counselling as well. So we'll go over to you. Over to you. Cheryl does counselling as well. And I think, guys, you've got to embrace those areas. I think Amina said a few weeks ago that her mentors didn't just come from it being in person. They came from shows and people online. But you guys, you can connect with either one of us if you need to be steered in a particular way and you feel that actually I warm to Cheryl, I warm to T. However it goes, you just literally get in contact with us. We're on Instagram. Both of us are on Instagram and both of us are on Facebook. So yeah, you can reach out because it's really important to have somebody who you can speak to and air something and literally probably just be steered in a way that is not forcing you but allowing you to think differently. So that's what we encourage you. So look at your support system and think of those things that you might need to change in your system. And investment is so important. Do you know what I mean? I have a coach. Invest in yourself. Do you know what I mean? You're worth something to be invested in. Okay. Number 7.
So here's the last one.
What are you doing that gives you joy?
Joy.
Listen to this now. I've got to say this one. I sent you the video I sent you the other day. I was laughing like crazy. I am Julie Mango. Honestly, she's Christine Sai's daughter. And I literally, every time her stuff comes around, because she does Jamaican, and I literally cry with laughter. Guys, literally, you can get joy. I remember saying to somebody the other day, actually, strangely enough, I said, do you know that you have to deliberately try and get some joy sometimes in your situations? And they were like, what do you mean? I said, sometimes you need to just go online, watch some foolish things and listen to them and laugh till you can't stop laughing. I mean, have a time where, you know, I'm chilling out, I'm relaxing, I need to laugh. Do you know what I mean?
Do whatever finds
Lord, is just
whatever gives you joy. Life is life. Life is just what it is. You're going to have elements of it which we can control. The elements we can't control. You're going to be stressful things which are going to come on, but you know, not everyone can come and stay at home and do nothing. Even if you are staying at home, you're doing something. So life just has its way of being there. So in order for us to find a balance, in order to create good well-being, we need to make sure that we're just giving self space. On a daily basis, guys. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's possible. In terms of when we're saying joy and laughing, we're laughing now. Every single person who's watching this show, who hears my voice, let me tell you, take time out to laugh or get some joy every single day. Every day. We can't have a whole day, right, where we're going through and we felt no spouts of joy at all. For those of you who feel that way, I'm going to ask you to really think about, okay, is it that I feel that way? Have I allowed all this other stuff that's going on to allow me to mask those moments of joy in my day? Take some time and get a gratitude diary so you can actually start writing. Don't write about the rubbish, because the rubbish will stay there. You don't need to write down what happens, which is rubbish. It remains in your mind. But we need to write down those joyful moments, write down what made us laugh, what was a silly one which made us give the side eye, which was still quite funny, but it was cheeky, but it was still funny. You know, have some fun, do something silly, play an instrument, go for a run. I'm trying to think of something. Dance like no one's watching.
I'm stupid.
Talk to yourself. If there's nobody else who can have joy with you,
Yeah.
do it with yourself. Enjoy your own company.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
everyone's in different stages. Walk on the street and just smile with somebody, smile with a stranger. There's these things I was thinking of the other day. In fact, I was doing it for a friend. She was thinking of all things to do before she reached 40. And I was just thinking all the things I was giving her was well-being tools. And it was stuff like, you know, tell somebody they look pretty today. Do this, do that. Because those kind of things also help to give you joyful moments. So just enjoy life, enjoy it.
And say something nice to somebody. I mean, that what you said, say hi, how you doing? You look beautiful, you look good. If they do, I mean, I love telling people when they look good. Honestly, I'm like, hey girl, you look, well, you know, I'm like
I did literally Saturday just gone. I was in the shop and there was this woman in there. Well, she was a young girl, but she was, you know, her dress was so cute, and her, you know, makeup was done, her hair was, but she looked so cute. And I went, oh my gosh, you look so lovely. And her face was just like, oh, thank you. She was just like, she was so shy. It's like she didn't. I'm like, you look good. You look good. I said, no, it's cute. I like it. Like it.
You see, the thing is, did you notice what you said about the reaction? Her reaction was like, oh, because she's probably not used to that.
She's not used to it.
You know, as Christians, let's be real, guys. We are supposed to be a demonstration of God in the world that we live in. And the Bible says the joy of the Lord is your strength. Even when you're going through, sometimes you just have to take yourself out of that pit and you've got to turn around and say, you know what? The joy of the Lord is my strength. I can't right now, God. Honest truth is, what's going on right now ain't happening. It ain't working for me. But God, I believe you. I believe your word for my life. I believe that you will bring me through. Do you know the Bible says in Philippians 4, it says, verse 4, it says, rejoice in the Lord always. I say again, rejoice. Let your graciousness be known to everyone. The Lord is near. Don't worry about anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition and thanksgiving. Listen, guys, we don't just have to go to God and, oh Lord, we can go to God and say, thank you, Lord.
Thanksgiving.
You know, and thanksgiving. Let your request be made known to God. Guys, and then it says in verse 7, it says, and the peace of God, which surpasses
all understanding,
will guard your hearts and minds in Christ Jesus. The peace, I like the one that, and the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your heart and mind in Christ Jesus, the Lord. Guys, it's going to. We're talking about mental health week here, and I'm glad we brought it up because there were so many different areas that we look in our lives and we can sit down and say, you know, like, this is how I feel, this is how I feel. But the one thing when we were researching and we came across this particular thing, well, Cheryl mainly, I love her.
So, you know, we work together. We all work on our strengths. Leave it alone.
Let me tell you what happened, right? She put something in the feed. And she was in her house putting it in the feed, and I was like, you see, I would never do it like that, and I would never get what the information that she gets. Listen, give praise where praise is due. Come on, guys, these are all things that will allow us to develop in who we are, but also let others see that there is a God, and even though that person, whether it be whatever their name is, and they're going through, and they can see that you're going through, but what you're giving to others is what you're not going through. What you're not going through. So you're giving them a different perspective, which is the joy of the Lord, which is the peace that passes all understanding. A literal rejoicing in your situation, in your diversity, in that situation that you're going through. We're not trying to mask what's really going on in life. Yes, there are some issues that we have, and there are some situations, and as Sharon and I have been quite real with you guys, we have sleep deprivation. We go on with stupidness. We have iron tablets. We have to take things that, you know, we have
our aches and our pains. My hand hurt. We have a lump here.
We have everything, but we also need to make a conscious choice. When it comes to serving the God that we serve. And as a Christian organization, we want you to understand that God loves you and God wants your praise even when you're going through the hard times. Jesus went through the hard times when he was going on the cross. He said, Father, and he said it 3 times in Matthew, Father, if it's your will, let this cup pass from me. So he didn't leave it on the first one. He said it 3 times. He like went back and says, are you sure? Are you really sure? Right. And then he goes away and he thinks again, God, I'm not really being funny or anything. Are you really positive that you want me to go through this? So there was an element of vulnerability. So we will have vulnerability and we will have things that we go through. But remember this, the joy of the Lord is your strength. Shez, do you want to say anything else?
Just as a finish, I'm going to go through all of them just so we can remind you of what they're all the main questions that you need to ask yourself. But just as you says that as well, whenever we're going through, the reason why we call it not a mask, the Bible actually tells us that we're not supposed to look like the world when we go through stuff. So that's just the key. So it's some problems like, oh no, I'm just being real and da. Yes, you can be real, but also be fruitful. Recognize that
realness. I like that statement.
We're still supposed to uphold a sense of godliness, even with us going through, because that's what makes us different.
That's a new quote for you, by the way. Put it on your quote.
A new one.
Yeah, that's a new quote. Go, girl.
Okay, so very quickly, guys, so we're saying today's show was all about having a mental well-being checking out where your head is at. Am I good, Lord? Am I okay? Do I need to kind of pull in some areas? Do I need to let go of some areas? So in order to do a check-in, we ask ourselves these 7 questions. Number 1, how is my life balance? Number 2, what's my mood like? How's my mood? Number 3 is how have I been sleeping? Number 3 is how well do I take care of my body? That's number 4, sorry. Number 5 is how have I been feeling physically? Number 6 is who is your support system? And the last one, number 7, is what are you doing that gives you joy?
Yay!
So guys, take a note of these areas and make sure that whatever you are doing, you do all things to the glory of God.
Amen. And so, guys, we want you, with that in mind, we want you to like, share, subscribe, send it to all your friends and family so that they can enjoy what you've just listened to. Have a great day. We love you loads. Have a blessed week. Bye.
Bye.
Talks with T and Shez.